Hi guys, Celestia here. In the last part of the story of Fig, Glyneth and Fig had a couple of laughs. She asked why she wasn't invited to the cuddle. And then she went off to make the amulets with Owen. Then Fig met Glenn, and he told her that he would make it livable for her. And Fig is now on her way to find Eldred. So we're going to pick the story up from there. So after leaving Galan and he making his way to the great tree, she sees other men join up with him, knowing that that was his crew. She's very pleased and excited. She feels very lighthearted, and yet also slightly anxious. There's a little trepidation there of living on her own. She knows she has to. Well, she not has to, but she knows she wants to. She should. So all of these things are crossing her mind, and she will absent-mindedly, nod and say good morning to someone as she passes them. The village isn't huge. It's got about 150 or so people. There are a few less now, of course. But it's not huge. It's just right. They're very comfortable with each other. Valar and Glyneth's age group and peers have all had their children, and now they're just waiting for those children to get married and start having babies of their own. Fig makes her way to the Great Hall. She can hear laughing, and one of them is a male laugh, and she knows it's Eldred. And there he is, standing there with his sleeves rolled up to here in soapy water doing dishes. She stands there, she says, well, at least I don't need to worry about asking him to do dishes. And there's Meek. She's putting food away, covering it for the next meal, sorting some greens, etc., trying to figure out what else she'll make for the next meal. So she walks over, and Meek looks up and she says, Fig. She said, how are you? She says, I'm good, Meek, I'm really good. She says, you're dying to tell me something. So she tells her about the tent and all of those things. She's so, Fig, I'm so happy for you. Truly I am. She said, I've had my own house for a long time. She's like, and I sometimes wish I had shared it with someone, but she'd always asked. She said, you know, Meek, she said, you could be a little more progressive. She said, progressive or aggressive? She said, both. She said, if you're interested in somebody, she said, tell them. She said, that's not appropriate. Is it? She said, why not? Why not? She said, if you hadn't gotten together with Eldred. She said, we haven't gotten together yet. Oh, she says, you perv. if you hadn't found Eldred, and yet you'd found somebody that you found appealing, would you have done that? She said, absolutely. At least I'd like to think I would. She's like, okay, this is not fair. She's like, you're telling me. She said, I'm telling you, it's always a possibility. She said, why does it have to be the man to make the first move? Because it's tradition? Bah. Pooh on tradition. She said, Eldred and I are going to get married. What? The humans call our mating ceremony a wedding. And after the couple has a wedding, they're married and they're husband and wife. Really? She said, yes. She says, okay. Anyway, she said, let's not talk about that. She said, there is something I do want to talk to you about. She said, oh, okay, what's that? She said, I'd like you to teach me to cook. Me? Yes. That's your mother's job? My mother told me that if she was starting out and hadn't been taught to cook by somebody else, that she would have wanted to be taught by you because you're such an awesome, amazing cook. Aw. She says, your mother's such a pet. She said, I'd be happy to teach you to cook. But she said, we need to teach Eldred too. Being progressive, Fig. Great. She said, I get my words thrown back in my face. She said, why can't men cook? She said, does Eldred always come here for meals? She says, no. He usually only comes for, comes for breakfast, sometimes for dinner, depending on what I'm cooking. Or whatever, who's cooking. She says, not always me. She said, there are a group of marvelous women who cook, as you know. But, she says, Fig says, but maybe he already knows how to cook. And maybe once we're married, he can show me some of his favorite recipes. She said, I think that's a wonderful idea. She said, I can make a copy of my cookbook for you. She said, what? She says, it's called a cookbook. She said, it has recipes in it for meals. Oh! Okay. She said, I happen to know that Alwyn has several human cookbooks. She said, I've been looking through them lately. She said, some of the meals, some of those recipes are pretty interesting. She just fixes, okay, but I still want to learn to cook. Yes, of course. She said, well, I'm not going to be cooking anything else today. She said, but we could start, whenever you're available. She said, what do I really have to do? She said, until Eldred and I get our group together who share a common interest with us, she said, we're, pretty much both at loose ends. She said, Eldred, of course, works out with his father training, and he works out with his friends training, but she She said, you should train too, Vic. What? She said, learning certain and simple, basic moves with weapons. She says, not a bad thing. She said, my father trained me and my brothers. So I wonder why father never thought of doing that with me. I have to ask him that someday. I get him alone. Eldred comes out. He says, Fig. He says, good morning. So he goes over and puts his arm around, gives her a peck on the cheek. Meek says, I have to go and try and figure out what is left from this morning's foraging that I can leave for the ladies for lunch and dinner. So I'm going to leave you two alone. Eldred looks at her and says, was there something I said? Did I interrupt some girl stuff? You heard what she said, silly. She says, Eldred. What? She said, Father's given me permission to go into stores. We get to go in there together and pick out things that we want for the tent. I never thought of that. He said, there are things that I want to bring from my house, of course, but not everything. He said, there's a few things. Pick it out with you and we have a fresh start. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? She said, that's what I thought. She said, are you free right now? Yes, he said, yes, I don't have anything to do until late this afternoon. Never mind. It's man crab. She said, oh, okay. Man crab, huh? All right. She said, oh, by the way, she said, I was talking with my father. He says, how is he? Did he sleep well? She says, I don't know. He's quite closed-mouthed, you know, about these things. Doesn't like to worry anybody. She says, he looks like crap. He says he could sleep for another year. She says, I bet he could. I bet he could. Poor man. She says, that's what I want. She says, come over and sit here for a minute. I want to talk to you for a second. He says, you're so excited. What in the world? She said, would you mind terribly if instead of calling us becoming a couple, instead of calling it a mating ceremony, would you mind if we called it a wedding? I said, a wedding? He says, yeah. She says, yes. When a couple comes together and they get married, they're then considered wed. And the ceremony is called a wedding. And then I will be your wife, and you will be my husband. He says, I like that, actually. Start of a new era, Fig. Start of a new era. At least we don't have to take everything from the humans. So I wouldn't want to, but there are certainly some things that we could merge into our society. So what is it you said, a man and a woman? Oh, a couple. said, doesn't that mean, oh, wait a minute. He said, I'm confused. If somebody says, I'll just be there in a couple of minutes. He said, that doesn't necessarily mean 2. She says, no, it doesn't. It's a, what my father call it, generic term. It's generic? Yes, she says it just means a general term. Generic. All these words. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to keep up with you. She says, you will. It's something we'll be able to do together, Eldred. She says, let's go to stores. Oh, he says, you're so excited. Okay, let's go. So they exit the great hall. And there's a path that leads right to this very large warehouse type of building where the stores are. And basically, stores is craftsmen make things. Because wooden furniture doesn't last forever. Even in their temperate climate, furniture is going to get broken or whatever. Or you're just going to get bored of it. And you're going to want something new. So, the craftsmen make new pieces of furniture, decorative pieces, etc. And they go into stores. So they open up the big door. Big says, I'd forgotten how big this place is. He says, it's divided, sweetheart. It's divided into areas. Bedroom furniture, parlor furniture, kitchen furniture, etc. She says, and how do you know this? She says, my father. Oh, of course. She said, your father makes some of the most wonderful metal. He's a metal worker when he's not teaching you how to fight. Something passed across your face there. What was it? She said, Alfred, would you teach me to fight? What? When I was talking to Meek earlier, she said that knowing simple fighting skills would be appropriate. Your father's never taught you to fight? So why wouldn't he teach you to fight? I guess maybe he thinks, daughter of the chief, nobody would dare attack you, I guess? She said, which has been proven wrong because they certainly attacked father. You see, that was an outside force. And that was that stupid broad Elfinor. So I hope she gets what she deserves for what she's put your father through. He said, let's talk about pleasant things. We'll pick out some furniture. And we'll get a wagon and we'll take it to the tent. We'll get some men to help us. She said, we just have to look. She said, right now, Galan and his men are looking at the tent. She says, well, why aren't you there? She said, I wanted to get an idea of what is available after it. I said, that makes sense. Absolutely. She said, the room that I'm going to sleep in the tent, after everything is settled and before we get married, she said, it has a marvelous bed. She said, it certainly is big enough for 2. She said, would you want a new bed? He said, I'm used to my bed. But only because I've slept on it since I moved out. He said, I think a new bed sounds marvelous. She says, okay. He says, you know, he says, my mother does some wonderful weaving. She said, you're right, she does. He said, I'm sure we could talk to her. She said, there's already so many tapestries and things. He said, I was thinking about something, a bed cover. Something when it's, you know, a little damp. He says, it never really gets cold. It does get chilly. He said, it might be nice to have something woven as a bed cover. You could tell her what you want, and she said, we would tell her what we want. She said, Eldred, this isn't going to be just my house. It'll be my house for a little while, but then it'll be our house. Don't you see? He said, of course I do. He says, just. She said, what is it? He said, I've loved you for so long. Years and years. He said, and I can't believe that you actually feel the same way about me. He said, I'm nobody special. He said, the reason I never... She said, what? He said, the reason I never approached you before was because I didn't think I was good enough. Oh, Eldred. She says, I'm the lucky one. She said, I couldn't pick a better mate than you. She said, for us to be able to grow together, maybe one day have children together. She said, I couldn't ask for a better man than you, Eldred. She said, I've had other men approach me. I was waiting for you. Really? Yes. Yeah, I was hoping someday you'd come to your senses and finally realize. He said, must you make light of everything? She said, yes. She said, I don't do very well with these kinds of conversations. What? He said, you better get used to it. He said, because I want you to tell me everything that's on your mind. If I ever do anything to upset you, and do anything to hurt your feelings, ever say anything hurtful, I want you to tell me. Because then I got a chance to make it up to you. He said, you like flowers, Fig? She said, well, didn't that come out of left field? She said, yes, I like flowers. He said, good. Good. He said, because I'm hoping we can have flowers and plants in our house. Oh, she said, wouldn't that be wonderful? He said, anyway, shall we start rummaging? She said, yes, let's do that. And that's where we're going to leave the story. I don't know. Those two are pretty sickeningly cute. I'm not sure I can handle it. Vic wants to learn to fight. That's interesting. And she and Eldred to learn to cook together. I think that's wonderful. So until we get together the next time, my friends, remember, never let anyone dull your sparkle. And know that I love you all. Mwah! Bye for now.